After the execution, I watched John Rook's prosecutor being interviewed. He said the whole lethal injection process was too easy, like putting a dog to sleep. Anyhow, tomorrow Billy's coming up, and I've got something very interesting to show him. I am living in hell, and this psycho writes me to brag about killing them. Do you know what it's like having this psycho grind me?
Confession freaks, they do this all the time, Tim. It's how they get their kicks. I'll look into it. Just don't get your hopes up.
Well, let me tell you something. Hope is all I got.
Come on, Tim. You've got a family. You've got us working our hearts out on your appeal.
Yeah.
Billy, don't count on a postcard from the Psycho of the Week.
How do you know there's not something to it, Jerry? Give it to the police.
For what? Fingerprints? Let's see, there's the prints of the store clerk who sold it, maybe the nut who wrote it, maybe not. The folks at the prison, some more people at the post office. Tim Hennis,
okay,
you,
Jerry.
me. Billy, do you know how many homicides the cops have on their desk since they think they solved this one? You want to hand them a postcard from this Mr. X?
Okay, Jerry, okay. All I know is that our client is sitting on death row because somehow we dropped the ball. So I'm gonna grab at nutty postcards or ex-girlfriends or find some private who hated Sergeant Hennis. Anything to get Tim a new trial.
Well, that sounds good. That's great. That's great. Here's the bad news. Never in the history of this state has anyone come off death row and won the second trial. And you know that.
So what are you saying?
How much false hope can we give Tim Hennis? How many more times can Bob and Mary Lou mortgage their home? How much more can we ask of them? How much more can we ask of our own families?
As much as it takes, Jerry. When he's your client for life. Whether you like it or not, Tim is our client. And if he dies, we live with it. I'm not ready to deal with that. He didn't do it, Jerry. The guy who did is still out there, free to do it again. We've got to get Tim a new trial. We've got to set him free.
And we'll need to hire a specialist who researches death penalty cases for appeals.
How much?
$5,000.
Okay, I'll get it, somehow. I also want to raise enough to put D.B. Guinness back on the case.
What for?
To find the killer.
Bob, listen, we both know that you're tapped to the max, and we feel that you should put any money you raise into the appeal.
We need to concentrate everything. Money, time, energy, in getting Tim a second trial.
Now listen,
scatter our resources.
Mary Lou and I have sacrificed everything for this, and we'll mortgage the future if we have to. But we don't want a repeat of the first trial, and that won't happen if we find the killer. Now what's D.B. Guinness going to cost, full time?
$1,000 to start, $20,000 to finish.
Okay, I'll get it. Now I want a copy of all the police and lab reports.
What are you going to do with them?
Play detective.
Mr. Hennis, it's not like I couldn't use the work, but you don't even have an appeal yet. You could be wasting your money.
Not if you find the killer. Look, first find the walker. The guy Breck saw, the guy other people have seen walking in that area.
We have tried night after night after night. I mean, maybe he left town. Maybe got hit by a truck.
Look, D.B., listen. The guy who did this is still out there. People forget that. He's still there. The killer is still out there.
Hey, they put that man on death row where he belongs. Now you guys are trying to get him off, right? I can't help you.
Any luck?
No. You?
Zip. Everybody's convinced Hennis did it.
Yeah, or nobody cares.
It's a warm Carolina night. The family was together to celebrate.
I talked to my mom since the move. They like Jacksonville a lot.
That's good.
Tim, I've decided to move down there and be with them. Maybe I just can't stand Fayetteville without you. It's just too tough. You know? At least there I've got my family. And I've got a job there at Burnett's in the jewelry department.
Sounds like you got it all worked out.
Tim, I had to do something.
It's just life is slipping away while I'm in here. Everybody's moving. Christina's growing up. You and me, God, I might as well be on another planet. You do what you gotta do. I'm no good for you.
So there's your case. Fellas, I've been through your trial with a microscope, fine-tooth comb, and 24 pots of coffee. And what I found there is in that stack 59 clear trial errors and the legal precedents that apply.
That's beautiful, Peg. So what's your unofficial opinion?
Unofficially, you're trying for the Super Bowl that's never been won. You know all the odds are against you.
Yeah. Well, we repeat that every morning before we start the day.
Well, anyway, there's your ammo. Go get 'em.
Thanks, Peg.
Fellas, when I give you the nod, punch on your speakerphone, line 2.
What is it?
This is a lead on the Walker. Yes, I'm sorry for the interruption, Miss Davis. Yes, you were saying?
Like I said, I can't believe that Tim Hannis was found guilty with this guy Cataldo roaming at night all over the neighborhood.
Cataldo?
Cataldo. Cataldo. He could pass as Hannis's brother.
Ma'am, where might I contact you?
I said enough. Just check it out.
You say this woman called out of the blue?
Like manna from heaven.
DB, wherever he is, find him.
I'm gone.
You want a sleeping pill?
No. If I took a pill every time I couldn't sleep since this started, I'd be an addict by now and I'd still be awake. Mary Lou, we gotta take out another mortgage on the house. It's the only way.
Fine. Now that's settled. Let's go to bed.
Wish that was all.
Bob, you know, worrying about Tim...
It's not just Tim, it's me, my work. I'm not pulling my load. The other department heads are carrying me. Me.
Well, you can only do so much.
No, every week I'm falling farther behind. Tomorrow I have to take off again and drive up there for a meeting with the lawyers. I can't just...
Bob, listen. You're that close to retiring. You just hang on a little longer. You've been doing it ever since Tim was arrested. I know it's a stupid cliche, but please hang on. I know you can.
Safe to come in?
Nope.
Anything I can do to help?
Pray.
I've been doing that.
And don't stop.
Are you ready, Jerry?
What? Don't I look ready?
You look terrible. I mean, really builds confidence. I'm glad Bob can't see you.
I'll be ready.
So what's the problem, Jerry? You know the brief backwards.
Well, the problem is, Billy, the judge has made so many errors, I could forget a key one. Or I could flood them with so many that it'll dilute our argument into mush. So
I told you I was happy to make the appeal, Jerry. I don't see why you didn't let me in the first place.
Because you never appeared before the Supreme Court.
Well, I've got to start sometime.
Come on, Billy. Can't I express my doubts to you without you wanting to take over the case? I mean, who the hell else can I talk to?
Jerry, I didn't mean it that way, and you know it.
Well, that's the way it... Oh, forget it.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm just wound up tight.
Your mother's keeping Christina. They'll bring her when they come to visit this afternoon.
You're late. Did you have some trouble?
Well, let's see. I got off work late. The traffic was like a parking lot all the way here. And then on the road outside Goldsboro, that old car started acting up and we just chugged all the way here.
I don't like you on the road in that pile of junk.
It's no big deal. It's kind of an adventure, seeing if we'll make it.
Angela, I gotta talk to you about something. I've been doing a lot of thinking. Because there's nothing else to do but thinking here.
What is it?
You mustn't waste your life waiting for me to get out of here.
What?
Angela, listen. First, we don't know if we're ever going to get another trial. And even if we do, all we keep hearing is how nobody's ever come off the row and won the second trial.
Timmy.
Angela, we're talking about years. And at the end of all those years, even if I live, I may never get out of here. That's why I want you to divorce me.
Tim.
I've written up a kind of agreement, and I want you to take a look at it.
Without even talking to me?
It says after you divorce me, should I ever get out of here, that I won't try to get custody of Christina, or I won't interfere in your lives in any way. That's it. Angela.
Excuse me, sir. You have a wastebasket?
Listen, Angela.
Thank you very much. No, you listen. I did not limp here all the way from Jacksonville with a bad head gasket just to get junk mail from you, or to watch you feel sorry for yourself. Okay, the answer is no. And you know what, darling? You're lucky this glass separates us and I can't get my hands on you, or I'd show you how I really feel.
He gave you his letter?
But I didn't mean it. It's just that he's in a lot of pain. It's so unfair, you know. He doesn't belong in there.
What did you do?
Got mad and tore it up.
Good.
Tim, I've come for the choice of death document. Ward needs to file it by midnight. I, Timothy B. Hennis, etc., do declare lethal injection. Good choice.
How you know? You ever tried it?
An extensive use of the blow-up pictures during the trial was unfair, especially projecting them near the defendant's head, where he was seen by the jury in the reflected light of the victims' bloody bodies.
But the position of the defendant during projection is actually not evidence.
I refer to a previous opinion of this very court. Quote, evidence in a case is not only what is said from the witness stand, but what is seen in the courtroom. As you may recall, Justice Parad, that was from one of your own written opinions.
It's taking a long time.
Yes.
Jerry, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. We're so proud.
Thanks. Let me warn you, the Supreme Seven are notoriously unpredictable. They could seem to like you and then hang you out to dry.
Oh, Jerry's always Mr. Sunshine. Come on, let's eat. I'm buying.
How long before a decision?
6 to 9 months.
Another 9 months on death row?
You mean before we know anything? My God. How does anyone survive this process?
You're absolutely sure, huh? I mean, you take an early retirement, you're going to get less than half the pension you would if you just hang on for 2 more years.
Wasn't an easy decision, Roy. I'm just not able to give it my best anymore. I've always done that.
Well, there's no other way.
We go to the prison every month. I'm constantly having to drive up there to meet with the lawyers. That's 16 hours every trip. I got to stay on top of things. What if we miss some crucial detail? Boy, those lawyers getting sick of me.
My friend, you're going to ruin your health, you know that. Please, just back off a little.
My son is on death row for a crime he didn't commit. How in God's name you back off from that?
That's Bob. Something's wrong.
Got it! Hey! What? Got it! We got the trial!
In Raleigh today, the North Carolina Supreme Court announced that they have granted a new trial in the Eastburn murder.
Hennis, get in here!
2.5 years after Hennis was convicted of rape and 3 counts of homicide and spent 845 days on death row. No date for the new trial was announced, but again, a new trial has been ordered by the state Supreme Court. If Hennis is acquitted in his second trial, it will be the first time in the state's history
Captain Eastburn.
Captain Eastburn, this is the district attorney's office in Cumberland County, North Carolina.
Yes?
The state Supreme Court has ordered a new trial for Timothy Hennis.
What?
You'll be contacted by the district attorney. Captain Eastburn, I'm sorry.
Bob Hennis. Oh, yes. Thank you for calling back, Dr. Wyman. Yes, sir. The blood semen test. Aha. Yes, sir. Baltimore, Dr. Zeitlin, Z-E-I-T. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
What?
Based on the state's lab report on blood semen samples, this lab might have eliminated Tim as a rape suspect. He gave me the name of a lab in Baltimore for another opinion.
So if another lab had done the tests, there might not be a rape charge?
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. Might, maybe, possibly. It's never true or false. Just somebody's interpretation of a lab report? And all this work everybody's doing. How do we know it'll even get in as evidence?
Well, honey, it sure won't if we don't keep trying.
And around the time of the Eastburn murders, did you notice anybody unusual hanging around the neighborhood?
Well, I'll tell you. There was a guy parked in a light-colored car for the longest time, just sat there and watched. He could see the Eastburn house on up the block. He's parked right over there. He must have sat there for hours.
Huh. What'd he look like?
Well, big fella. Kind of a stocky build, sandy blonde hair. Suddenly, he just up and was gone.
Thank you.
Press check on 4, please.
Hi, I'm D.B. Guinness. I'm a private investigator. You're the night manager?
Yeah? What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. I'm looking for a guy who walks the area around here at night. Maybe stopped in for cigarettes, a soda. He wears a black members-only jacket.
Big guy? Sort of a Rambo type?
Yeah.
A lot of muscle. Always wears something over his shoulder?
That's him. His name Cataldo.
Yeah, Mac Cataldo. Used to work here.
Now y'all eat while it's hot. We just took it off the grill.
What is that?
Brunswick stew, Carolina specialty.
Oh,
We have
boy.
fried okra, hush puppies, and coleslaw. Well, we knew you'd never make it home for dinner, so we fixed a little something to keep you going.
What would we do without you?
Thanksgiving at your house really must be something.
Oh, well, now, DB, you better eat a bite. You gotta keep your strength up.
Yes, ma'am.
Ladies, you saved our lives.
Go see you.
Have a good evening.
See you, honey.
Okay, let's get started. Let's see what we got so far. Crime scene. Lots of loose ends everywhere. The police haven't concentrated on them because they believe Tim Hennis is a killer. But maybe we can make some things work for us. Like, who made all of those harassing phone calls to Katie Eastburn a month before she was killed?
Maybe Katie was being stalked.
That's an excellent area to probe.
You know, in the crime scene, I'm fascinated by the way the van keeps showing up. I mean, first, the neighbor, Doug Palmer, says he saw a van that night. Then, Stacy Carolwood claims a van followed her home from the hospital. And the drug informant, Frank Sarazin, said the guy he claimed sold the marijuana was in a blue van.
Yeah, and Frank Sarazin's possible drug angle totally points away from Tim.
Now, everything points away from Tim as a killer. The problem is getting it in as evidence.
Better add the independent crime labs that might have eliminated Tim in the blood sperm test.
That's good. Breck is still their most damaging witness, but he told several versions. Now, we must discredit Breck's testimony with much more punch than we did before. Well, that night, Breck obviously did not see whom he thought he saw. And if it wasn't Hennis, who was it?
The night walker, Cataldo.
Right, who is our best shot to discredit Breck. Jenny Gallus first saw him, as Breck describes him, 2 weeks before the night of the murders. We know it wasn't Tim Hennis. Bob, you ready for some really good news?
Oh, yeah.
DB, tell me about last night.
I talked to Cataldo.
Holy smoke. You got him?
Yes, sir.
You got him.
Cataldo is 19. He looks older. He's a Rambo type, a loner. He's into guns, knives. Soldier of fortune freak. Now, he worked as a night stock boy at the Pines Market, and he is very wired. He walks miles after work because he can't sleep. Now, that night, he was working the late shift at the market. He is not the killer.
He was walking the neighborhood later that same night. He has to be the guy that Breck saw.
That's incredible. So let's tell them this blows their case wide open.
No. Over my dead body.
Why not?
Remember Owen Breck? We revealed him too soon and lost. Let's don't make the same mistake twice. Let's save him for trial.
Billy's right. We spring Cataldo at the trial. This time, we'll have a surprise. Hmm?
Okay, I'll see you later this afternoon.
Where are you going?
I'm going to question witnesses.
It's Saturday.
I'm sorry, honey, but...
Oh, I'm sorry, but just doesn't cut it. Yesterday, your son, Matt... Oh, you remember Matt, don't you? Cute little dude, about so tall. Asked me why his daddy doesn't spend any time with him anymore. Now, I explained to him all about law and jurisprudence and all that really important stuff, but I don't think he bought it.
I'm sorry, honey, but what can I do?
Help me with the groceries, and then take your son with you.
Hi. You have to work on Saturday, too?
I sure do.
So do I.
Oh, yeah? What kind of work you do?
Me and my daddy are investigating a murder.
A murder, huh? Maybe the Eastburn case? Hey, that's quite a helper you got there.
Yeah, he's the best I ever had. Say, the police didn't happen to question you about the Eastburn murders, did they?
Never did. I did see something odd that Saturday morning.
Odd?
Mm-hmm. That morning I was driving past that Eastburn house, and that light-colored car everybody's been talking about was parked too far out in the street. It's a wonder hadn't caused a wreck. Well, it's parked right up the block from the Eastburn house.
That was at 9:30 Saturday morning. The car he described was like Hennessy's.
Huh. So, there's another witness who saw a car like Tim's hovering around the scene.
Yes, but it couldn't have been Hennis. Because at 9:30 on Saturday, Tim was in his backyard burning trash. Seen by the state's own witness.
That's great. That's great. Now, you remember the phone calls Katie got? Well, I'm on my way to see a friend of Katie's named Francis Ramsey.
I hope the lemonade's not too sweet.
Ma'am, I have never tasted too sweet.
Anyway, Katie told me about those creepy phone calls she'd been getting. And she felt like she was being followed.
Followed? Do you mean, like being stalked?
Whatever. She especially felt it at her children's gymnastic meet the Saturday before she was killed. She and Amy Reed took their kids to the meet together.
Amy Reed? Thank you.
Sure, there are a lot of pictures taken. Well, you know, everybody takes pictures of the kids.
Yeah, could I see him, Miss Reed?
Well, the police took my copies. There's a Detective Gordon. Actually, if you see him, could you please tell him that I brought those back?
Sure.
The pictures, yeah. We had her copies. Katie was in the crowd and some of them, there's nothing there.
So what happened to the photographs?
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Well, later when I was going to give them back to Mrs. Reed, they're either misplaced or lost. It's been a while.
See you now.
You are a kid.
Hey, look, it happens, you know. They weren't exactly high priority. And don't tell me that you have never lost or misplaced a piece of evidence that turned out later to not be evidence.
What was in the photographs?
Nothing, Billy. No tie to this case, not a thing.
How do you know there was absolutely no tie to this case?
Because Tim Hennis wasn't in the crowd in a single picture.
Is Tim Hennis the only face you guys ever look for?
Billy, look. This case, it's over.
So now we have 3 white cars involved in the crime.
I understand all that, but the van, that keeps popping up all over the place.
Right. You remember Bonnie Griffin, the newspaper delivery lady? Yeah, I think DB should talk to her again. Find out what she's afraid of. She might have seen the walker, too. Also, Bonnie Griffin said she almost ran into a van in front of the Eastburn home at 1:45 a.m. Now, if that's all she saw, why did she flatly refuse to testify in open court? It makes no sense.
Maybe she saw something more.
Next, Stacy Carolwood.
Something peculiar.
She said Saturday morning she passed the Eastburns and saw the front door open. But on Sunday morning, Sergeant Hallis found the Eastburns' front door locked. The deputy had to enter the house through the bedroom window.
Also, 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning, the mailman saw a car like Tim Hennis's parked near the Eastburns. Now, this must have been the same car that Lorraine Taylor saw a half an hour before at the instant teller.
So after the murders, the killers, using 2 vehicles, a compact car like Hennis's and a van, go back to the crime scene.
Possibly to check on their cleanup job in daylight. The last time was Saturday morning after one of them had been to the bank.
Tim couldn't be going back and forth between the bank and the Eastburn house while he was seen burning trash in the backyard.
The crime lab lifted finger and palm prints from the scene. None of them are Tim Hennis's. They found a size 9 footprint. Hennis wears a size 13.
And finally, Katie's phone calls. I mean, I find it odd that they started as soon as Captain Eastburn left town.
Look at that. Nothing on that board relates to Tim Hennis. How in Hades did he ever get convicted?
Police seem blind to anything that didn't nail Hennis. Prosecutor withheld evidence to protect his case.
And we got outlawyered by Smithline.
This time we don't have to worry about Smithline.
Why not?
He went into private practice after getting a conviction on the case of his career. Weird.
Yeah. So the DA assigned Mencken and Connor. They're tough. Around the courthouse, they're known as the Surgeon and the Bulldog.
So, when you consider everything, I see no reason to change the strategy that convicted Hennis in the first place.
Oh, except for the old rule. On the second trial, the defense is usually stronger and the prosecution's case is weaker.
Well, what's the change? Stephen here built a rock-solid case. Well, no matter what new tricks or so-called evidence they come up with, is there anything to refute what actually convicted Hennis? None of that has changed.
And we have a new witness, Mildred Gwynn. She can positively ID Hennis at the Eastburn house the day before the murders.
The day Hennis says he wasn't there.
Really? Mm-hmm. Another little surprise for Butch and Sundance.
Miss Griffin, I do appreciate you talking to me.
We've been through this. I don't know what else I can tell you.
You said that you saw a light-colored van parked in front of the Eastburn.
Right. You know, I don't...
Did you see anyone?
I told you what I saw.
I know. I know. But you also refused to testify in court.
That's right. I will not testify in open court.
Please. Can I just ask why? We could subpoena you.
What good would that do? I'd just sit there.
Well, the judge may be able to force you to testify.
I've got to go pick up the kids at school and then cook dinner.
I know.
And I must tell you, my husband is getting tired of you people coming around asking questions. Please, leave me alone. Please, you've got to stop calling. Please. Please. Stop.
No matter how many times I go over it, their case hinges on Owen Breck.
Breck's a cipher to me. What did he really see that night?
And after Breck admitted he was uncertain of his idea of Hennis, why did he change his story? He's not just lying for the hell of it.
Either he's mixed up Hennis with Cataldo, or he just loves the attention.
No, his anguish about IDing the wrong man was too real. Messages? Thank you. Sure. However, DB, I've been checking into Owen Breck, and he has been a very, very busy guy. First, a felony credit card attempt, and a warrant for Owen Breck's arrest, a drunk and disorderly charge. Notice anything peculiar? DB, with all these charges, he was never indicted.
Something stinks.
Yeah, DB, dig on it.
Okay,
Hey, and find me something.
I'll get it. See you, Dawn.
Bye-bye.
File a petition. We're going to see what it looks like. Now, what you have to do on your
That's what I heard.
Just be
How you
patient.
doing? Same song, third verse.
It's a big step closer.
It doesn't feel any closer.
It's only been 27 months, 3 days, and 6 hours. But who's counting?
Me, I'm counting.
Come on, show some guts, Sarge. Tim, you gotta promise me something. This time you must get on the witness stand. No matter what anybody else says to you, you gotta let that jury see that you couldn't have done it.
Angela, there's no power on earth that's gonna keep me from testifying, even if I blow it.
What is wrong with that?
You're still too angry, Tim. Now listen, you insisted on testifying. No, we agreed that you'd have to be coached.
Why can't I just tell the truth? I gotta worry about how I say something.
Because how you say it may determine whether the jury believes you. Now, tell us about the night of the murders.
Well, what do you want to know, Jer?
That is not an answer, that's a question. Now, Tim, you can't win this case by yourself, but you can damn sure lose it.
Come on, Tim. Please.
Come on, what? Okay, look, I came back from Selma.
Don't use your hands. Don't use your hands. They're big, they're threatening. Now, you're accused of brutalizing a helpless woman and her 2 small children. Don't give the jury a reminder of the difference between your size and theirs. All right? Okay, let's start again. This time, no hands.
I came back from Selma.
There must be more on Owen Breck. Maybe over at Central Records.
Thanks, Tommy.
Did you know about the missing wallet?
What wallet?
I worked on that one. I think it was last March. Somebody found a wallet lying in the street in Montclair. In it was a letter about Owen Breck.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about?
It turns out the letter belonged to a friend of Breck's. The letter was all about how Breck was shaky on his ID of Hennis.
Huh, that's impossible.
The letter was in the wallet, just lying on the street. Is that weird?
Where is this letter?
Who knows? But I took the file on the case over to Records Annex. Records.
Billy Richardson there?
Oh, yeah, he's right here.
Hello? Billy Richardson.
It's Guinness. Look, Cataldo's moved again. I'll track him down.
Swell.
Hey, Billy, I found him once. I'll find him again.
I'm counting on that, DB. Now listen to me. 11:30 tonight. Be sure to meet me at the Sheriff's Record Annex.
So what in blazes are we doing here in the middle of the night?
Owen Breck. Listen to this. Breck has bragged to his friends he can do anything he wants and the cops won't touch him. He's apparently been given unofficial immunity.
So, Breck may think he can't change his testimony or he may face prosecution?
Right, and that's going into my opening argument.
Well, why are we here?
In this building is a file on Breck about a lost wallet containing a letter that declares that Breck said the man he saw wasn't Hennis.
You are making this up.
We're going in there and somehow get our hands on that file.
You ever hear of a court order?
We can get it without one. It's night, it's quiet, no one expects us.
Inside of McCarran goes down the middle, shoots there, he scores.
Good evening. Good game?
It's all right. Can I help you, boy?
Yeah. I'm Billy Richardson. I'm an attorney. We're involved in a matter concerning a lost wallet found in Montclair in March. The sheriff said that you have the file here.
That was last March?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Here we are. Montclair. There was a wallet.
Do you still have it?
Nope. Disposition. Wallet returned to a Gary Durone. D-U-R-O-N-E.
Mr. Durone, according to the case file, you are friends with Owen Breck, right?
Yeah, we're friends. What you want?
I want to know about the letter. Remember the letter and the wallet you lost?
What about it?
Did it have anything to do with Owen Breck's uncertainty about identifying Tim Hennis?
Maybe.
Mr. Durone, maybe might get an innocent man executed.
told him.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now. If you got your doubts it was Hennis, you either shut your mouth or you take it to the DA.
Right, man, to go to jail for perjury.
Hey, wait a second, man. Come on now. What you gonna do? You just gonna let that man die like that?
Hey, now it could be Hennis. I'm just not sure. Also, now I'm not the only witness. What about all the other people?
Man, you are not responsible for them. Were you drinking that night?
Mm-hmm. I wasn't drunk.
You said you weren't sure that it was Hennis.
Right. I'm not sure. It doesn't mean that it's not him.
Okay, who wrote the letter?
My girlfriend. You know, we had spoken before she went off to college, and you know, she wrote me and told me that it was my responsibility to get on Owen's case, because if Hennis got executed, it would be partly my fault, and that's because Owen admitted, you know, he wasn't sure it was Hennis he saw that day.
Look, I don't know if I can even use it, but I need that letter.
Now, were you in the Eastburn house?
No.
Before that night? Don't jump in. Of course you were in the Eastburn house. 2 nights before the murders. That's when you picked up the dog. These prosecutors are smart, Tim. Don't let them trick you. Wait until they finish before you answer.
Yeah, I get it.
Answer in complete sentences. I want the jury to hear you talk. See that you're not a monster. Just an ordinary guy with one hell of a streak of circumstantial bad luck. Now, when you picked up the dog, did you go through the house?
No. Just the living room. Hey, I used the bathroom before I left, that's right.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Good.
So, what do you think?
He's learning. He'll be fine if he doesn't get mad.
Jerry, listen, there's something else. I know Billy has done most of the work preparing for this trial, but please, you make the opening argument.
What?
It's nothing personal. You know, Mary Lou and I love Billy, but you're the senior attorney here. You handle the appeal to the Supreme Court. This is our last chance. You must do it.
I can't believe you're eating again. I haven't enjoyed a meal in 3 weeks.
Well, I eat when I'm nervous.
Yeah, what are you nervous about?
I lost Cataldo. Just
What?
disappeared.
Oh, come on. How? Oh, I don't believe this. I'm glad I can't eat, so I don't get sick. Now what?
Well, we're not completely dead. I may have a lead up in the Boone area.
DB, with our luck, he could be dead.
Yeah, well then I'll just dig him up, dust him off, and drag him into court.
Well, you better get a shovel, because we got 2 weeks. Cataldo discredits Breck. He's our biggest gun.
I will stay on it, Billy, I swear.
Thank you.
Look, I got another angle. I want to talk to Bonnie Griffin again.
What? Come on. She refuses to testify.
Yeah, but does it make any sense that she refuses to testify without just seeing a van? She saw something else, and she is scared. Now, I've been doing this too long not to spot it. And whatever she's afraid of is important to this case.
But she won't talk.
Yeah, but I think she wants to. Lady's got a wide streak of decency. Hey, what kind of detective would I be if I can't spot the good guys?
Thanks.
Hey, it's me again. Bonnie, we have a few loose ends that we have to, Mr. Griffin. Could Bonnie and I go for a cup of coffee? Just a few minutes.
Will it finally get rid of you?
I swear to God. I do not see how people can use that plastic sugar. They're going to execute Tim Hennis.
That could really happen.
Oh, they won before. They'll win again. Unless everybody tells what they know. Tim Hennis is dead. Bonnie, I know you're very scared. But what if it were your husband? And somebody knew something might save his life. But they didn't speak up then. Just let him die.
My God. Oh my God. How much can a person take? I've prayed. I can't live with this anymore.
Jerry, I put most of this case together, and now you're telling me I'm not making the opening statement?
I've given it a lot of thought,
Well,
Billy.
think some more, Jerry. I've been working on this opening for months. I know this case. Jerry, I've earned this.
Billy, this is the way it is. I'm doing the kickoff, then you take the ball. That's it.
You better make one hell of a kickoff. See you in court.
I brought you two. I didn't know which one you wanted.
It's time to go to court, Tim.
I usually only have to do this when you're wearing a tux.
D-Day, my hands are trembling.
Bob, you've done everything you can. Now stop worrying.
It's hard to do when Tim's life is in the hands of 12 strangers. Again.
Listen, you got us here. You pushed and persuaded and drove everybody crazy. Wouldn't let anybody give up, ever. No father, no man could have done more. So no matter what happens, I'm proud of what you did. Now, get out there and drive them crazy some more.
Where have you been?
Throwing up.
Losing is not an option.
And that same evidence will prove again, as it clearly did before, that one man, and one man only, is responsible for the deaths of Katie and Kara and Aaron. And that man is Tim Hennis.
The evidence instead will show that Tim Hennis did not rape and kill Katie Eastburn, did not kill Kara, and did not kill Aaron Eastburn. We will further show that Tim Hennis's actions were completely inconsistent with guilt. First, the sheriff is looking for the person who got the Eastburn dog. Tim Hennis comes forward. Next, he signs a waiver of his rights. He doesn't have to. He gives a statement. He doesn't have to. He gives samples of hair, blood, fingerprints. He doesn't have to. And why did he? Because he didn't commit the crime. But the sheriff's department, instead of taking all of this evidence that Tim gives and trying to match it with anything from the crime scene, they jump the gun. They call a press conference, declare the case solved. But the physical evidence says Tim Hennis is innocent. Because there is no match. Physical evidence does not lie. It does not forget. It cannot be pressured into testifying. Tim Hennis is not guilty. He was not guilty before. He is not guilty now. And we will show it.
You call that a kickoff? I can spit further than that. You nailed it.
And what was your last conversation with your wife?
Katie said she'd received a bunch of harassing phone calls since I left for school. The last one said, "I live up the street. I'm coming to see you."
Thank you. Captain Eastburn?
The witness may step down.
Call Mrs. Mildred Gwynn.
I talked with her 3 years ago. She said she hadn't seen her. I know.
You see, this was on Wednesday before the murders. It was lunchtime. I looked out my window, and I saw a man in the Eastburn backyard with Katie, her 3 children, and her dog.
How's he dressed?
Wearing cut-off jeans and a red T-shirt. I'm new to the neighborhood. I thought he was Katie's husband, not knowing that Captain Eastburn was away at school.
And when did you first realize that this wasn't Captain Eastburn?
When I saw Tim Hennis's picture in the newspaper, he was the man I saw. Him.
Mrs. Gwynn, you say this was on Wednesday before the murders?
Yes.
You saw this man with Katie and the dog on Wednesday?
Yes.
Are you positive it was Wednesday?
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Gwynn.
Bailiff,
She may end up helping us. How? Well, she's suggesting that Katie was talking with someone else on Wednesday. But Katie told people the dog was picked up on Tuesday. That's when you got the dog. On Wednesday, you would have to leave your post, go home, change clothes, take the dog to Katie's, take the dog back home, get into uniform, go back to work.
Now, you testified that your lab checked Tim Hennis' jacket and found no blood.
That's correct.
But we established that Tim Hennis had this jacket dry cleaned the day after the murders. Will dry cleaning remove blood from a jacket?
Yes, it will.
Mr. White, as a forensic chemist, you ran an independent test for blood on another members-only jacket. Please, give us the results from the exhibit.
Well, our lab took an identical members-only jacket, put some of my blood on the sleeve, had it dry cleaned, and tested it with luminol. As you can see, luminol shows blood traces clearly. Dry cleaning does not remove it.
Now, the defense has made a big thing about a lot of prints that were found at the scene. None of them Hennis's, suggesting that someone else did the crime. For example, unknown palm print on the front door. Now, Mr. Carling, how did your technicians enter the house?
By the front door.
Then any one of them could have made those prints.
Did you wear surgical gloves at the scene?
Yes, I did.
And did any of the other technicians wear surgical gloves?
They all did.
Then they left no prints.
Bloody footprint, size 9. Now, the defense has tried to suggest, since Hennis is a size 13, that this footprint was some unknown perpetrator. Mr. Carling, what's your shoe size?
Size 9.
Well, could have been your print.
According to your lab report, where was this size 9 footprint found?
It was found at the side door.
Uh-huh. And where did you take the bodies out?
The front door.
So you and your size 9 shoe never went out the side door?
No.
And do your bank records show the time on Saturday morning that Katie's card was first used?
Yes, between 8:55 and 8:56. 3 transactions.
Between 8:55 and 8:56. All within 1 minute.
On Saturday, May 11th, did you see the defendant that morning?
Yes, I did. In his backyard.
What time was that?
At approximately 9:30, burning stuff in a barrel.
And would you tell us again when you saw the trash burning?
Oh, well, I saw smoke pouring from Mr. Hennis's trash barrel at 9 o'clock that Saturday morning.
9 o'clock. And what is the driving time from your home to the bank?
About 20 or 25 minutes, depending on the traffic.
Then Tim Hennis couldn't be at the bank at 8:55 and burning trash at his house by 9 o'clock, 25 minutes away.
Now, Miss Taylor, after you observed the man using the instant teller on Saturday morning, did he then drive away?
Oh, no, sir. He got in his car and he didn't leave for a while. I stayed in my car until he started to move, and then I got out and I used instant teller.
How long did you wait in your car?
About a minute or two. It seemed like a long time, possibly 2 minutes.
She's mine. Mrs. Taylor, in the previous trial, you had no memory of this incident until 10 months after the event when you came forward. But now you remember the actual minutes.
Yes.
So this incident stuck out in your mind.
Oh, yes, it did.
Yes. All right, well, here is a record of all of the bank transactions you made in those 10 months. Could you please tell us which ones you actually remember doing?
Oh, this one. The $7,000 deposit. I remember it because it was such a large amount.
Uh-huh. You don't remember doing any of the other 90 transactions?
No, but I'm not trying to remember it. There's no reason for me to remember it.
Right, you remember only one transaction out of 90, and yet you remember this incident with the man and how long it took 10 months before.
Yes.
Yes. All right, well, let's look at that incident in question. Now, according to the bank records, Mrs. Eastburn's card was used at 8:55 and 19 seconds and ended at 8:56 and 6 seconds. That's a total of 47 seconds at the window. But your transaction didn't occur until 8:59:41. Some 3 minutes and 35 seconds later.
Yes.
Which means this person made 3 transactions in under a minute and then hung around for over 3 minutes waiting to be seen. For over 3 minutes. 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Now I guess I get in my car and leave. And Mrs. Taylor can use the teller machine.
So this man was parked near the Eastburn house?
Yes, sir, across from my station.
Now you had time to get a look at him?
Yes, sir.
Would you describe him, please?
Well, big guy, sandy blonde hair, broad-shouldered. It's Tim Hennis.
Good Lord, they believe him. I'd say we were ahead on points. Until the jury believed Glenn Dufree.
Dufree had enough time to look the guy over. That's a hard idea to shake.
But it couldn't have been Hennis. Who was it?
The guy who was stalking Katie?
How did Dufree describe him?
Big, sandy blonde, broad-shouldered.
Right. And who else does that describe?
Hey, thanks for coming.
Hello, Mr. P.I. Kind of short notice, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Frankie, but no predicted brainstorms, huh? You've been too busy busting druggies to follow the trial?
Nope. It's better than television. What do you need?
Back around the time of the Eastburn murders, did you happen to have any drug stakeouts going on in their neighborhood, say, about a month before the murders?
What is your occupation, Mr. Sarrazin?
Professional narcotics informant.
And during the month of April 1985, were you on a drug surveillance in the Eastburn neighborhood?
I was. I had a stakeout on a gas station up the street from the Eastburn house. The mechanic had been dealing drugs. I was probably the guy Mr. Dufree saw since I was sitting there 4 or 5 hours. I had to set up an informant to make a drug buy from the guy. My informant, a young woman, made a buy for $250. The drugs were to be delivered later.
And who was your informant making the drug buy?
Stacy Carrollwood.
Stacy Carrollwood. Stacy Carrollwood, the Eastburn babysitter.
Objection. And if this testimony is allowed, it must be continued out of hearing of the jury.
I will allow the testimony, but the jury will retire.
Ladies and gentlemen,
if you will retire to the jury room.
But they can't unring a bell, you know. They made the connection of possible drug angle on the Eastburn murders.
Stacy Carrollwood made the buy, but she didn't get the drugs. She told the dealer to bring them to her at the Eastburn house the following Friday night where she was babysitting. And that's the weekend the murders occurred. But I was called out of town that week, and when I returned, the Eastburn slayings had occurred.
Mrs. Griffin, where were you on Saturday, May 10th, between 1 and 2 a.m.?
Delivering newspapers on Summerhill Road.
Please, tell the court what happened.
At about 1:45 in the morning, as I came to the Eastburn house, I saw a light-colored van parked. I had to slow down to go around it. I continued on my route, and when I came back toward Yadkin Road, I saw this man coming down the drive from the house. He was small, 5'6" or 7, and carried something over his back. He had dirty blonde hair, jeans, and a jacket. I was afraid he saw me.
And did you later see photographs of Tim Hennis as the accused?
On TV news, and I knew they had the wrong man. Hennis was not the man I saw coming out the house.
What did you do?
Nothing.
Why not?
The phone call started. Hello?
I live up the street, and I'm coming to see you. You keep your mouth shut. You keep your mouth shut, you hear me?
I live up the street, and I'm coming to see you. Now, where have we heard that before? Did the phone calls continue?
Yes. The next call, he He threatened my children.
Your kids go to Hopewell School. I told you I knew. They play at the Freeland Playground. Now, if you want to keep them safe, you keep quiet. You got that? Don't tell anyone, not even your husband, or your kids will pay.
How long did this go on?
All through the first trial. He said he was coming over to my house. One time I'm sure he got in the house, because after he threatened again to come over, I ran to a neighbor's. When we came back, the screen door was open. I know I closed it. On the very next call, he mentioned my waterbed, how we'd try it out. He said... Anyway, I nearly went crazy. Then Mr. Hennis was sent to prison, and I was sick with guilt. So sick. My husband thought I was having a nervous breakdown, but I couldn't say nothing.
Did the phone calls continue?
Yes. When word came there was going to be another trial, same voice, same threats, and the same awful. Anyway, this time I realized Mr. Hennis might really die. The man I saw that night was not Tim Hennis.
Please tell the court what happened that night.
I was walking home late. It was sometime around 3:30. I saw this guy coming from the driveway at the Eastburn house. He said something about getting an early start, something like that.
Is that man in this courtroom?
Yes.
Let the record show that Mr. Breck has identified Tim Hennis. Now, Mr. Breck, you previously signed an affidavit expressing doubt as to whom you saw. Do you, in fact, now have any doubt that it was Tim Hennis?
No, I'm certain it was Tim Hennis.
Mr. Breck, were you drinking that night?
No.
Have you ever been charged with drunk and disorderly conduct?
Nope.
Mr. Breck, can you identify this document?
Well, yes, sir. It's an arrest sheet or something like that.
It's a copy of a citation, isn't it, sir? And whose name is on it?
Mine.
Objection. Mr. Breck's criminal record is not material to this homicide.
Your Honor, the whole purpose of my questions are to show that the state has a strong case against Breck on several charges, which they're ignoring because they need him to testify against Tim Hennis.
I will allow testimony about his record within strict limitations.
Now, Detective, with all of these charges against Owen Breck, has there been any prosecution of any case against him?
Nope.
Now, Mr. Durone, how did I happen to contact you?
Regarding a letter that was in a wallet I lost.
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor, it will clearly demonstrate Owen Breck's confusion as to the identity of the man he saw.
He may answer.
This letter from your fiancé, would you please read these lines?
Owen said he was unsure about what he saw because he had been drinking. Did you even talk to Owen? If you don't, and Hennis gets the death penalty, it will be partly your fault.
Thank you, Mr. Durone. No further questions.
You may step down.
Your Honor, our last witness does not appear on the witness list because we made contact over the weekend.
Call your witness.
Call Matt Cataldo.
Matt Cataldo?
What's that?
We're in trouble.
And you walk the Eastburn neighborhood frequently at night?
That's right.
We spent a great deal of effort trying to find you during the first trial, Mr. Cataldo. Where were you when we did locate you?
At college, Appalachian State.
Being so close at hand when the Eastburn murders occurred, weren't you even curious?
Yeah, sure. I even came and watched the first trial once. But after the cops questioned me, they let me go. I didn't really think too much about it after that.
So during the first trial, when Tim Hennis was convicted and sentenced to death, the police had questioned him and let him go and never notified the defense that he existed. And in the first trial, the prosecution knew about Mr. Cataldo. Maybe they let him go because they had a witness on Mr. Hennis.
His alibi checked out.
But they withheld this information from us despite knowing we were looking for him to discredit Owen Breck. Breck identified the wrong man. The existence of Cataldo is evidence that Hennis is not guilty. The prosecution also withheld the crime prevention checklist. I couldn't find it at Fort Bragg because they had it. They didn't present it until it was too late to support Hennis's bank card alibi, which it does.
When you take all of these things together, it clearly shows misconduct. Deliberate, serious misconduct on the part of the state. We've been prejudiced by this. So we're asking the court to hold a hearing immediately at the end of this trial, a hearing to determine what should be done about this prosecutorial misconduct.
Very well. Have your evidence ready.
What did you wear when you walked at night?
I wore a black members only jacket, black beret, and black corduroys.
Did you carry anything?
Yeah, book satchel over my shoulder.
Let me ask you a hypothetical question. If an individual walking down Summerhill Road saw somebody over 6 feet with blonde hair, a mustache, hat, wearing a dark members only jacket, and carrying a bag over his shoulder, who would that person be describing?
Objection!
Mr. Hennis, the night you picked up the Eastburn dog, what happened?
We just talked about our families and our kids, mostly how she wanted a good home for the dog.
And then what happened?
I put a chain on the dog. Miss Eastburn followed me outside, and I got in the car with Dixie and drove away.
Did you ever see Mrs. Eastburn again?
No, sir, I did not.
Catherine Eastburn. She's an attractive woman. Wasn't she, Mr. Hennis?
Yes, sir, I suppose she was.
Now, that night, you first went to Ellen Browning's house. And then you went to visit the attractive Miss Eastburn.
No, I did not.
Your wife had left you?
No, sir, she'd gone to visit her parents.
Ellen Browning rejected you that night.
No, I went to visit a friend.
And angry at that rejection, you went to Catherine Eastburn. You tried to come on to her.
No, I did not.
And in a rage at that rejection, you killed Katie Eastburn and her children.
Objection.
Sustained.
No, sir, I did not.
But you have absolutely no supported alibi whatsoever on the night of that murder.
As was said in the opening, I repeat at the close. The evidence in this case never, ever shows that Tim Hennis was in the Eastburn house at the time of the murders. Not one piece of physical evidence remotely links Tim Hennis to this case. The state's case is entirely circumstantial, stacking supposition upon supposition to speculate that Tim Hennis is guilty. Their key witness, Owen Breck, has made contradictory statements about identifying Tim Hennis, and for this he has received favored treatment by the Sheriff's Department and the prosecution. Lorraine Taylor's testimony about the Instant Taylor transaction is filled with peculiarities. After 10 months of silence, she suddenly remembers. She has Tim Hennis illegally use Katie's card and then wait around for 3 minutes and 35 seconds to be identified before he leaves. So what do we have? Owen Breck can't get his story straight. Lorraine Taylor's memory comes back 10 months later after everything was in the papers. Tim Hennis freely gives physical samples that don't match anything at the crime scene. They have Tim Hennis everywhere he can't be, like using the instant teller at the same time he's seen burning trash. And Bonnie Griffin says Tim Hennis is not the man she saw leaving the murder scene. Tim Hennis is not the man she saw.
We've proven Owen Breck is a liar and a thief. We've shown flaws in Lorraine Taylor's testimony, outright lies by the state. Like the state lab said that dry cleaning would remove any blood on Tim Hennis's jacket. Well, we proved them wrong. They simply lied. Now, the state didn't pick Tim Hennis out of the blue and go after him. They saw him as a possible suspect. They convinced themselves he was guilty. Then they began a case against him. They shape and mold it any way they can to make it work. Why? Because they can't afford to back down. The political ramifications of knowing they were wrong are incredible. So they become convinced. Half of the state's case is built upon your trust. Your trust that they would not prosecute a man they did not think was guilty. Well, they did. They did. They prosecuted a man who does not fit the evidence. And Tim Hennis is not guilty.
When your defense is weak, you attack in the courtroom. You attack the police, attack investigators, attack prosecutors, attack witnesses. It's reminiscent of what the defendant did at the Eastburns on May 9th. Attack, slash, rip, and tear apart. The defense has noted that Dorothy Popejoy saw smoke coming from a barrel in Hennis's backyard at 9 a.m. She did not see Hennis. Smoke is certainly no evidence that he was home. During the assault, Hennis removed his jacket. Therefore, no blood. He kept his hat on. Therefore, no hairs. Owen Breck saw Hennis. This composite is worth 1,000 words. This composite is Tim Hennis.
And you will hear no apology for the state's case. No apology for calling Owen Breck and Lorraine Taylor to the stand. Neither of these two people chose to be witnesses. So what could Owen Breck and Lorraine Taylor possibly gain by identifying Tim Hennis if it wasn't him they saw? The defense is a magic show of smoke and mirrors throwing out rabbits for you to chase. But Tim Hennis decided the course that Katie Eastburn's life would take. Kara's life would take. Aaron's life would take. Don't forget why you are here.
And if the jury has any questions, you can notify the bailiff. The jury will now retire to reach a verdict. Counsel, approach the bench. The defense will have the weekend to prepare for the misconduct hearing. The state is to make any and all documents immediately available. Hearing will begin Monday, 9 a.m.
What is all this?
State's evidence a judge ordered they turn over to us.
DB, you won't believe what's in here, too. A second Mr. X postcard. The police got one months after we got ours.
They probably figured it was a crackpot, just like we did.
Yeah. But two of them?
Dear Mr. Hennis,
I did the crime. I murdered the Eastburns. Sorry you're doing the time. Thanks, Mr. X. I murdered.
See here in murdered? The E is written over with a T, T-E. Then the R has a mark that also forms a J, J-R. Together, T-E-J-R. It's the same on both cards.
My second card. Well, we just figured our card was from some nut and filed it. 2 postcards. This is crazy.
T-E-J-R. Do those initials mean anything to you?
T-E-J-R. Yes, sir, right here, T-E-J-R. Tyler Ellerby Jr. Worked at a video store on Yadkin Road, 6'1", 195 pounds, short blonde hair. I questioned him. I also questioned his ex-girlfriend.
And?
There's nothing to hold him on. She told the SBI that he had some scratches on his face the week of the murders. He, of course, told her that he was mugged by some guys trying to take his bike. But when I spoke with him, he denied both stories, so...
Where is he now?
He transferred to Charleston right after the murders.
Well, what about prints, blood, and hair samples?
They didn't get any. They dropped him as a suspect.
No, it doesn't mean he's the killer. But it does mean they had a candidate other than Hennis, and they didn't really push it. Your Honor, before we begin, we want it clearly understood that the misconduct occurred prior to Mr. Mencken and Mr. Connor's case, and no way reflects upon them.
Your Honor, before you convene the court, I just want to say I've reviewed these charges. I can only say that Mr. Cataldo was questioned by us, and his alibi checked out. Therefore, we let him go and had no intention of calling him as a witness.
You knew we were looking for Cataldo, and he resembled Hennis.
Not to me.
What about the second postcard?
We didn't know there was one until you produced yours.
And the crime prevention checklist.
The crime prevention checklist was presented by the state when we deemed appropriate, and will so stipulate.
Judge, we intend to prove...
The jury has reached a verdict.
It's too quick. It's too quick. I know.
Gentlemen, we'll continue this after the verdict.
Your Honor.
Read the verdict.
In the case of North Carolina versus Timothy Bailey Hennis, the jury has unanimously returned as its verdict that the defendant is not guilty.
Hennis, you are free to go. The jury is dismissed. Counsel. Both sides, please. I assume we can stop the misconduct here.
No, we want to continue. My God, they were going to take his life. We can't just...
Jerry, we've won. It's over.
This court is adjourned.
Gary. Good luck.
us.
Congratulations, Bob.
I have been waiting 3 years to give you this. Put it back on Tim's finger.